Halloween is a time-honored tradition. We dress up our kids, we dress up our pets, we hand out treats, and we celebrate with our communities. This week, we explore how women shaped Halloween as we know it. Halloween has evolved over time. It's changed again and again. With a history spanning over 2,000 years, Halloween started as a Celtic festival called Samhain. Celebrated during the Iron Age, roughly 500 BCE to 400 CE, Samhain marked the end of the summer, the final harvest, and the descent into the long winter's night. The Celtics believed that on this night the veil between the living and the dead grew thin. Ancestors and spirits might return to walk the earth. People lit great bonfires and wore masks or disguises to hide in plain sight. When Romans conquered Celtic lands in the 1st century CE, they folded their own festivals into the local calendar. One of these was the festival of Pomona, goddess of orchards and fruit. Her symbol was the apple. Combined with the Celtic Samhain rites, the apple became a tool for fortune telling and romance. Young people bobbed for apples or tried to peel them in long strips. They would toss the skins over their shoulders to reveal an initial of their future spouse. This game survived for centuries and carried into the Victorian and American Halloween parties as like a little playful ritual or part entertainment and like witchcraft of some kind. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory fixed All Saints' Day or All Hallows' Day on November 1st. So by 800 CE, the Christian church had like converted all of this into All Hallows' Day, and churches in Ireland and Northumbria were already celebrating this feast. And then this became All Hallows Eve, then Halloween. Halloween, as we know it, wouldn't have crossed the Atlantic without Irish and Scottish immigrants. In the 19th century, they brought with them the tale of Stingy Jack. He was a trickster who made a deal with the devil, and he was doomed to wander the earth with a carved turnip lantern. In America, where pumpkins were more abundant and easier to carve, the jack-o'-lantern was born. By the late 1800s, glowing pumpkin faces had become the most iconic symbol of Halloween. Alongside the jack-o'-lantern was another figure that became a Halloween emblem, the witch in the pointy black hat. And this was linked to alewives. In the Middle Ages and into the early modern period, brewing was women's work. Women, known as alewives, brewed beer in small batches at home, selling it in towns and markets. To stand out in a crowded marketplace, they wore tall hats, often pointed. To let customers know that the ale was fresh and ready to be sold, the alewife would hang a broomstick or ale stake over her door or like outside her home. So an ale stick was a wooden pole topped with a bunch of greenery or like a hoop of woven barley. As brewing professionalized and guilds, dominated by men, took over, women brewers were increasingly painted as like dishonest, dirty, dangerous. Bad alewives were accused of watering down beer, overcharging, and cheating their customers. Ballads and sermons from the 14th and 16th century often mocked alewives as like immoral and untrustworthy. It's believed these alewives, like most people of this time, had cats that would keep, rats and stuff out of the grain. So the cats were linked to the alewives, witches with the pointy hats and brooms. They're ale sticks. By the late 1800s, Halloween postcards and party decorations showed witches not just as crones, but as playful, sometimes flirtatious figures, perched on brooms, stirring cauldrons, and surrounded by cats. The witch kind of became the centerpiece to the Halloween party scene. In the 19th century in the United States, Halloween was still largely about pranks. Kids, mostly boys, would throw like soot at windows and tip over outhouses, steal gates, smear flour on passersby, and just get into lots of mischief. This flower trick was especially common in cities like New York, Boston, and Chicago. Boys carried little cloth bags of flour, and if you answered the door without offering a treat, they'd smack you with a puff of white dust. While these antics could be considered funny, this became a real problem. Broken fences, vandalism, and even injuries. Communities began to worry that Halloween had gotten out of hand. Once a night of rowdy mischief dominated by boys, it was slowly drawn indoors. Women's magazines and community groups encouraged mothers to host parlor parties, decorate homes, and guide the children to more safe rituals. Things like apple bobbing, fortune telling games, ghost stories, and homemade costumes became the new center of Halloween. This was a domesticated Halloween, turned the night from chaos into a family centered celebration. And this was really stitched together by women's labor and creativity. There was also a class element. Working class kids were seen running wild in the streets, while middle class reformers, often women's clubs and church auxiliaries, pushed organized parties and school gatherings as a safer alternative. By the early 20th century, the flour bags and pranks slowly morphed into treats. In many neighborhoods, children were rewarded with nuts and fruit and sweets if they were well behaved. The phrase trick or treat didn't appear widely until 1930 or 40, but it captured the old idea of give us something sweet or we're gonna play a trick on you. The real tipping point was after World War II. With sugar rations lifted, candy companies heavily marketed Halloween as a candy holiday. Costume companies mass produced children's outfits, greeting card companies published and flooded the market with Halloween imagery, and Hollywood horror films added another layer of culture. By the 1950s, door to door trick or treating had become a dominant custom, promoted by schools and churches and civic groups as a safe, wholesome alternative to mischief. While the old flour bags disappeared, jack-o'-lanterns still glowed on porches and the apples stayed in their tubs. Halloween had morphed into something different with the old customs still peeking through. From the harvest goddesses of the ancient world to the alewives of the 12th and 13th century, women have always been the center of Halloween. Women were honored in festivals, sought out in apple divination games, and later they were the ones that pulled the night back indoors and made it safe for children to play. The spirits may come and go each October, but it's women who have kept the lantern burning, shaping Halloween into a celebration that survived chaos, crossed oceans, and reinvented itself again and again. Like and subscribe for new videos every week.